What up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back with our Week 17 preview and picks. We got a few games that have already happened in this video, so we'll just fly through those. But we got to talk about the championship week first before we get into everything. Obviously, Ty, you had a great run going 7-2 on championship weekend, and obviously, the ones that you got wrong were the ones I think that weren't really much of a game for the
No.
most part. So at least you didn't have to sweat any out. But for me, the biggest takeaway that Georgia Texas game, Texas just can't beat Georgia.
Yeah, I think going off that, the big question for Texas is are they frauds is Georgia just a bad matchup for them? Because obviously they won their other 11 games this year. So we'll find out here in the college football playoff. That's the beauty of having 12 teams.
And I'm glad also the committee put SMU in even after losing.
Yep.
That obviously bets as well for that weekend. You went 4-2, 3-3, so pretty solid for both of us there. And then we'll just jump straight to what has already happened. Obviously, we both were going to take Army in that one. That one seemed like a no-brainer. Then Army just forgot to show up. Western played a good game, just didn't get the win. Memphis, that one seemed like a no-brainer, and obviously they won in a great game, surprisingly
Yeah.
enough. And then James Madison last night won as well. I mean, do you have anything to add to those?
I would just say the bowl games have been pretty solid so far, and the five or six we've seen so far. I think this year people came in with low expectations, but they've been pretty solid games.
And then these are games you haven't seen yet, probably. The Sunday game obviously already happened. Cal UNLV game, that one already happened last night on Tuesday. And then, you got this Georgia Southern, Sam Houston. I'm going Sam Houston. I just think the extra win there in New Orleans. Both of these teams are pretty close to this bowl game, but I like the Cougars here, and I think it's their first bowl game ever since joining the FBS. So I like their chances. Going Ohio here. Obviously, I have ties to that Ohio team with a former classmate in high school is now their leading rusher. So we got to go with Ohio there. Then I like Florida over Tulane. I think DJ Lagway is playing in this game, I believe. And if he is, it's great for the future and Florida program to see what they have, not just for the rest of this year, obviously, but for beyond. And that he's going to be the reason why Florida becomes relevant again.
Yeah, I agree. I'm pretty much riding with you on all these games. I do have Georgia Southern tonight, which last I checked is not looking very good. I think they're down two possessions in the fourth. But I'm also going with Ohio coming off that dominant performance in the MAC championship. And Florida, yes, they're 7-5, but they've had a lot of momentum. So I think they finish the season on a solid note and get to 8 wins.
And then obviously we're going to jump to the biggest games. College football playoff, Indiana, Notre Dame. What a great way to start it off for us this weekend. In-state rivalry, and they're both 11 and 1, both deserve to be here. Notre Dame's questionable loss to NIU doesn't matter anymore because they're in. And Indiana, obviously their only loss to Ohio State, gets to go on the road to face Notre Dame. And call it a home game, I guess, for Notre Dame, but it's probably going to be at least 60-40 Notre Dame, if not 50-50, because it's so close. Just a 2.5 hour drive. And I like the Fighting Irish at home here. They have a lot riding on this season where Indiana's just excited to be there. As long as Riley Leonard can stay healthy, and same with Jeremiah Love and Marcus Freeman, can play the brand of football they want. I don't want to say Notre Dame coasts in this one, but I think they win pretty comfortably.
Yeah, I think this is going to be an underrated atmosphere coming into this game. A road playoff game at Notre Dame obviously has never been seen before. And I think Indiana's really going to have their hands full just with that. But getting into the game, I just think that Notre Dame defense is going to be too much. Indiana's offense has not shown the ability to run the ball on really good teams. We saw that with Ohio State. So I think it's going to be all up to Curtis Rourke. And I don't know if he can completely take over a game like some other quarterbacks. So I think Notre Dame gets a comfortable win.
Then moving to Saturday, I love this game. I love SMU. Should have won the ACC championship after deciding to not play football in the first half. And they're a great story, kind of like Indiana this year, but I think more people saw this SMU team being good, but not this good. And give them credit for where they are being here. Penn State, give them credit obviously as well, going 11 and 1 in regular season, losing to Oregon in the Big Ten championship, still putting up 37, which no one saw that coming. And with that, I think they're due for a letdown here. I know Drew Aller's coming back. but this just seems like a James Franklin game. We've talked about it time and time again. A big game, James Franklin's going to lose. And until he proves me wrong in this game, I got to go with SMU on the road. They're that team, kind of like our Tigers this year. They're just happy to be there, don't care about any expectations, and why not just go 110%, play to the final whistle. I love this SMU team. Kind of like that team that everybody's going to root for this year in the playoff if they can get this win.
Yeah, I just think Penn State, yes, they've had the problems in the past with big games, but I think they're going to be able to control this game on the ground. They can get an early lead and kind of control the time of possession throughout the rest of the game. And like you said, put up 37 points. They showed me a lot against Oregon. And yes, they, gave up 45 on the other end, but that was against one of the best quarterbacks in the country. And while SMU does have a talented quarterback, he's no Dylan Gabriel. So I think Penn State playing in that Big Ten championship is the reason they're going to win this game because they got a lot of experience against a really good team.
Then after that one, you'll get a great matchup here. On paper at the beginning of the year, I think this game would have been circled, highlighted, can't miss football. But here we are in the playoff, and we got that matchup. And I think it's a different story coming into this one because Texas is 11 and 0 against teams not named Georgia. And Clemson had to squeak out a win where they blew a huge lead to SMU in the ACC championship just to get to this point. And that's why I think that line is favoring Texas at 12 points. Now, I don't know if it's going to be covering. If not, I'm staying away from that 12 because that's a dangerous number to be at betting wise. But I still like Texas to win this game. I do think we get more Arch Manning in this game than I'm not saying Quinn Ewers isn't going to play, but I think it would be kind of not smart for Texas to not have a series or two with Manning in there just because Clemson would have to prepare for both of these quarterbacks. So I like Texas as long as Blue in the ground game and everything can go according to plan. They should easily move on here.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Texas D line is going to come up big in this game. That's been a really underrated unit in college football this year. And I think Arch Manning does get, maybe he even starts. I would not be surprised by that. But I think he does, at the very least, get a lot more packages in this game. And I think Texas offense finds itself again and gets a comfortable win. Clemson might cover, maybe a backdoor cover, but I still think Texas wins comfortably.
And then obviously the biggest game of the weekend, at least from what we've seen on social media, Tennessee going on the road to face Ohio State. Now this is one of those dream matchups that you can pretty much only play in the video game because no one ever schedules something like this earlier in the season between these two heavyweights, SEC versus Big Ten. And you get this in the new playoff now, and it's not even at a bowl game. It's a home game for Ohio State here. And then I still like Tennessee to go on the road. Ryan Day, I don't know how his team is going to respond after the Michigan loss. And I think that's cause for concern where Tennessee is trending in the right direction coming into this game. So as long as Nico Iamaleava decides to not turn the ball over, if he doesn't throw a pick or two, does what he has to do, if he has to be a game manager in this game and makes the smart decisions, I think Tennessee walks away with this win because James Pierce Jr., he's legit. It's going to be tough for Ohio State to stop him because Michigan obviously got their way on the defensive end. Now you get someone probably just as good as Mason Graham. So give me the Tennessee Vols here to escape Columbus with a win.
Yeah, you know what the kind of teams that beat Ohio State are the teams that run the ball right down your throat and can stop the run on the other side, also known as tough football teams. Michigan's a tough football team, but they're a bad team. They won 7 games and they still had enough to beat Ohio State. You know who does what Michigan does, but does it way better is Tennessee. They actually have a quarterback. They have one of the best running backs in the country in Dylan Sampson. And people are saying, if Ohio State just started slinging the ball all over the field, they would have beat Michigan. And that might be true, but it's not as true against Tennessee, who has a much better secondary and a healthy secondary. So I think, if Ohio State gets in another fist fight trying to win the battle of the line of scrimmage, I think that's not going to go their way. And yes, Nico has had his struggles, but I think he'll be able to do just enough here to play with Dylan Sampson in that run game. And I think Tennessee goes in and gets the road upset.
And then to cap it off, we'll finish with some bowl games for the rest of the week. Monday, going to UTSA against Coastal Carolina. Their logo is cooler. I'm going with Fresno State. to beat NIU. I think they're favored by a touchdown and a field goal. So that's all I need to know on that one. Probably, only people know NIU this year because they beat Notre Dame. And then I'm going with USF flying all the way across the country to play in this Hawaii Bowl. Why not? This will probably be one of those wild, kind of like Memphis, West Virginia games because normally you get one a week that's just completely crazy, no defense. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's this game.
Yeah, I mean NIU, they had a good year here in the MAC, killed my Broncos, beat Notre Dame. So I'm going with the Huskies, and I think San Jose State. All I know about them is Nick Nash, Triple Crown winner at wide receiver. I think he has a big game. I'm assuming he's playing, and if he does, I think he has a big game, and they get the win.
And that's gonna be it for our preview and picks. Check back next week as we cap more bowl games and more playoff games. But make sure you check out our playoff brackets as well. Till then, the Bench Buddies are out.